Well, hello, fellow salespeople and anybody thinking about being in sales. My name is Doc Fabiano. I have published this book, which is The Endangered Salesperson's Path to Longevity, which you may find at fine online bookstores anywhere, especially if they're Amazon and Barnes & Noble and Google. Or, if you want, you can go to my website, which is www.endangeredsalespeople.com, where you can also order the book and you can also learn some more information. Yeah, I've been doing this blog and bringing you all sorts of information as to sales and whether you should be in sales or whether not. And I thought we might as well start something for happy hour, and we'll call it the Martini Hour Sales Story. Salespeople have stories to back up things that they do and how they do them and why they do them. And this one in particular started with me a very, very long time ago and brought me to a spot where I was doing a seminar in, was it Ohio? Might have been Ohio, Illinois, a place like that in the middle of winter. Snow all over the place. They all look the same to me since I'm from Florida. And doing a seminar there, and a young fellow came up to me and he says, "Look at your tan." He says, "With a tan like that, you don't work very hard at all, do you?" And it was sort of I don't know, maybe it wasn't really a threat, but it was possibly a challenge. So I looked at him and I went, "Well, you know what, Scooter? You're right. I don't work hard. I work smart." Working smart is something very important to learn. And I learned how to work smart and had that idea some time ago at the beginning of my career. And that's my story for today. So we're going to have a little martini here, folks, and start thinking about it. You can't see it, can you? So I'm going to show you here, pouring my martini. Ta-da! There we go. Salud. Oh yes, very good. Anyway, back to our story. As a sales engineer starting out with a leading telecommunications company, I had a sales manager who didn't really fit the profile. Now, he was a white guy who wore his hair in an afro and liked to drink his lunches at a topless bar. And he belonged to a photographic club that once a month would hire a nude model. Now, he was very well groomed and wore only the finest classic suits, shirts, and ties. He was an excellent listener and successful at his job. He was extremely street smart. He relied on me for almost all of his product knowledge, and I developed a great deal of respect for him. He was never judgmental. And for whatever reason, I was his favorite in the office. One day, as he enjoyed his vodka lunch at his favorite peeler bar, as he called them, he questioned me about what I thought of the capabilities of the salespeople I frequently accompanied on calls. Now, as the office was relatively new, and the company was just a few years after lifting off, sales were not really robust, but enough to encourage further investment. Now, as one might expect, the 80-20 rule ruled. 20% of the salespeople brought in 80% of the business. Now, he says to me, "Why do you suppose our one salesman closes most of the business and the other 4 struggle?" He asked me that, and I kind of was puzzled. I scratched my head a little bit, and before I could answer, he said, "Because the cats in the know don't bust a hump." Because the cats in the know don't bust they hump. But when you think about it, he nailed it. Right there. 10 words. It was just really simple. He said, "Our top salesperson made it look effortless because he had put a great deal of effort into making sure he knew more about the product than anyone else." Yeah, he did. Here's to him, wherever you are now, Cecil. Delicious. He knew the market better than anyone else. He knew about his prospects, more about them and more about their business than the prospect did. And he knew what sales techniques worked, where and when. He knew when to get aggressive and when to walk away. He always outperformed everybody else and always surpassed quota. And he never stopped learning. Remember that one. Never stop learning. Now, you couldn't beat this guy even if you were giving it away. He knew how to distinguish himself above all others in the market, the field, the community, and the office. He knew exactly what he needed to know, top to bottom, and above all, he was able to lead a pleasant, leisurely family life outside of work. He wasn't busting his hump. He was working smart. Now, that doesn't happen overnight, but you need to consider, how do I work smart, or better yet, how do I work smarter than I do now? Take some work, take some focus, got to bear down. Do I know everything off the top of my head about my product? Do I know all of that? Do I know everything about my competition right off the top of my head? All right. Do I know different sales styles, strategies, processes, fundamentals that I can use to adapt and adjust and overcome whatever challenges and new sales situations I find myself in? Today's salesperson has to be dexterous. They have to be able to recognize the sales situation as what it is. Then they have to be able to come up with the appropriate sales process or strategy that makes sense in that situation. The salesperson of today has to be agile. And that means that person has to know a lot about what's going on. Got to know a lot about his prospect. Prospect doesn't really care how much he knows. Prospect wants to know what the salesperson can do for him. All right? Got to start having a conversation with your prospect. It's a key thing. You have a conversation with your prospect, ask some questions, and then listen. All right? Listen. If you listen, and if you listen carefully, the prospect most times is going to tell you how he or she may be closed. All right? You have to be agile. You cannot pull out the same sales bullets every prospect you're proposing. All right? Cannot all be the same because they're all different. And today they're a lot different than when my hair and my mustache were not gray. So, with that in mind, I hope you got something out of this, and I hope you enjoyed our little Martini story. So you all have a fine day. Salute.